Real good. There are a lot of really fun themes here this year. We're gonna hear a lot of open tuned guitars. A lot of people doing alternate tunings on guitars, which is really kind of cool. This is also a year where you're going to hear a whole bunch of stuff played by students that I myself am incapable of playing. I'm not kidding. There are going to be like 4 or 5 numbers you're going to hear today that are going to really kind of blow your mind. So, and I'll let you know what some of those things are to pay attention to as we get closer to them. You can see our lineup here. We've got 11 performances by a lot of different people who have really entered this whole thing from a lot of different places. Some of them were musicians when they came in, some of them were not, some of them were starting fresh. But you're just gonna, anyone who's been here for any previous ones, you're gonna be absolutely blown away by how far everybody's come. And I just want to thank all of you for, you've made a substantial investment in your child's musical education. I know how much it is. It's enormous on a lot of fronts. But when you give a kid music, you're teaching them something that they get from almost nothing else. They look at a black dot on a page and they call it something. They give it a letter like A flat. And then they put their hand on an object because they see that dot and they know that it's that letter and they should put their hand there and they play it with some bit of verve, some bit of style, and they get a sound out of it that enters their ear. And you've got like a matrix of 4 things that are stacked on top of each other there. When a brain can do that, we can look at a dot and hear a letter and put it in a physical space and feel it in the physical ear as a sound, and they start to make that association. There's nothing else that does that. So whether they go into finance, or whether they go into the creative arts, or whether they go into writing, or whatever they end up doing, their brain is being fused in a way right now that will never, ever go away and will only serve them and give them a huge advantage out in the marketplace, which is ultimately what we're doing. So I just want to thank you for that. And I have a little story to tell you about that. If you guys remember Dana Unger, about 3 years ago, Dana Unger's son Zach was a student of mine, and we had a recital. And about 2 weeks after the recital, she called me up and she said, "Hey Jeff, do you know a guy named John Collins?" And I said, "No, name doesn't really ring a bell." And she says, "Well, I put a photo of the recital up on Facebook." And he said, "Hey, I know Jeff Pachillo. He was my camp counselor." She said, "Were you a camp counselor?" I said, "Yeah, I was." And she says, "Well, he lives in Dobbs Ferry. Would you be amenable to getting a drink?" So the arrangements are made. I show up at this bar. There he is at the end of the bar, 180 pounds, tattoos, big muscly guy. Looked exactly the same as he did when he was 12. And, we're catching up. And, so I say, "So, John, what are you up to these days? What do you do?" And he says, "I'm a drummer." Wow. I said, "Like, you play the drums for a living?" And he says, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, John, that's amazing. I mean, not to your degree, but the funny thing is I'm a musician too." And he says, "I know, Jeff, you're the one who taught me to play the drums." And I said, "John, you must be horrible." And he says, "No. He's like, I'm very good. I've toured the world with, all different genres, different names, people you can't believe. And it's just, I was at camp. And you had formed a band with the other counselors, and you had a drum set, but you didn't have a drummer. And I was a 12-year-old kid who was hanging around, and you grabbed me and you threw me on the drum stool, and you taught me some basics. And I just played with you guys the whole summer, and I never felt so cool in my life." And I went home at the end of the camp session, and I told my parents, "I know what I want to do. I want to be a drummer." And they hated you for 10 years. But after that, I ended up doing it, and they think it's really cool now. And I tell that story because that camp, and there are several students here who are going to Camp Jewel this summer. There are a few people here, Layla Jordan, who went there recently. And so it's just funny that that's Camp Jewel, and so sometimes things come full circle. Your kids are learning things. Feel free to hate me for the next 10 years. If your kid says, "Hey, I'm doing music," it's going to be fine. Believe me, it's going to all work out okay. Here's our first performer. This is Ben McCulty. Now, I can't take a lot of credit for what you're about to hear. Ben only started with me a few months ago. This is not a guy who is new to music. This guy guy is a really fine sight reader already. He knew a bunch of chords, he knew how to play, he could figure things out. We're going to play a song out of the Hal Leonard book to get things started. And I do apologize for the weather, folks. I'm glad it's not raining or super hot, but I didn't have so much wind. So we'll try to listen up as much as we can. And then he's going to play one of the open tunes I told you about, one of my favorite songs. All right. Give me a look at the serial. Yeah. What? Yeah, sorry. 1 second, folks. We're just going to double check the tuning. He did it already, but things happen. We're ready. And let's all thank Mr. Nyman over here, Dan Nyman, who's going to be videotaping everything for us today.
Yay.
So, as usual, Dan is always a very generous guy. And Jesse graduates this year, folks, so we're sort of on our own next year. All right, ready when you are. And he is going to play a tune for you Bay Area folks by Third Eye Blind. It's a really terrific song. Many of you are fans of Third Eye Blind. This is called The Background, and this guy plays this thing beautifully. Let's just check the tuning out real quick. So I'm sure we're good. Here we go. How about that, huh? That's getting off with the right start.
Good job.